Welcome to Games You Loved. I'm going to be taking you through some of my collecting tips that I've picked up over the years from buying games, consoles, mainly retro games. Do buy new games as well, so I'm going to focus very much on retro games. I've been playing games really since the early 70s. I've been around that long. In terms of a first tip, I'm going to start off with don't rush, because I can give you all the ideas about where maybe I've bought games from, but sometimes it's a behaviour in terms of how you're going to best enjoy this whole hobby. One of the things is just don't get FOMO, fear of missing out when it comes to collecting games. You want to be able to enjoy it, don't sort of feel under pressure from your friends or your peers or what you see on YouTube and social media. There's a lot of people with some fantastic collections, and I'm all for advocating that, but you don't need to chase that whole thing. Just kind of find your little, loving area that you really enjoy. If you just want to collect one type of character or one type of console, or all of the games for one console, that's a personal thing for you. And if you want to do it that way, just do it that way. Don't feel like you have to kind of do it in one hit, because it should be fun and you should enjoy the whole process rather than feeling like I've got to get there tomorrow. From my point of view, showing my age now, 40 odd years of certainly playing games, but collecting games, I've been collecting, I suppose, going back, could be around even 30 years. In the 90s I was kind of re-buying some of my original games, so I just know that over time I've got into collecting in a very intense way, and it's not always a good thing. It's good to just pace yourself out. It's a marathon, not a sprint, so that will be my first tip. Don't kind of rush into it, really. The other thing to do is kind of look at what you've got, especially if you're going to go to, say, a gaming event or take a trip to a game store, or even just, be looking online. Sometimes have a look at the collection you've got. Two things there. One is that, you might have games that you've just forgotten about and you end up just doubling up, rebuying, which is quite a common thing, especially if you've got a big collection. The other thing is, when you see the games that you've got, sometimes you just get that chance, I'll play some games now, rather than just I'm going to build up a stack, which is often what a lot of us do. So, have a look of what you've got of your collection before you kind of go on a buying spree. I would personally say, especially if you go to sort of like a gaming market or something like that, you're going to come back with stuff that you kind of really, really want, rather than just piling it up one after the other. Next tip is kind of goes back to that, what I've just said there about, when you're about to go and spend, also make a list. And some people have some really elaborate lists, seriously, like, Excel spreadsheets, like almost databases of things that they're almost saying, right, this is my golden ticket game I really want to get my hands on, and it can sit on that list for years. And that's sometimes a good thing, because when it comes up, you might be on holiday, you might be visiting sort of Japan, and you see that console and you've waited that long because it's been on your list. That's quite nice and a rewarding thing. You get it home and you play it, and it's kind of part of the experience. We could all just sit on eBay just pressing buy it now all day. Personally, I just wouldn't get too much from that. It's not that I haven't done a buy it now. If it's just that and that alone, I don't think you're going to enjoy the experience and the hunt so much. I think definitely making a list, and whatever you are collecting games for, whether it be just for me the fun and enjoyment, owning games that I had when I was a kid, which is one of the things that I really get the nostalgia kick out of. Make that list in that way. However you want to do it, by genre, it's entirely up to you. There's loads of different ways you could make lists. Another sort of thing in terms of collecting, especially on the community side, are getting into groups, because it's not just about the whole transaction thing. There's a lot of people there who have similar interests. So you find sometimes with groups, there's a really good Game & Watch group that I'm part of. People do sell on there as well. They don't just sell the actual devices, but they sell little accessories and shelving units and stickers and all sorts of extra things. So I think getting into a group, really nice way to get into community, but also you get some bargains because you're often sort of buying off fellow collectors who've got the same interests with you. So I highly recommend certain groups. Obviously, be safe, be careful, don't just dive in and randomly send money to people you don't know. So make sure the group has some history behind it, and you can see the type of people, who are trading with you. So be careful doing the trading side. But just from an actual sharing point of view, it gets some really good ideas in there as well for, again, how to display your games, how to look after them. There was a thing it was quite a while ago, how to, fix my Game and Watch, and I was a bit nervous at first, but there was conversation from people, and I did it, and I was pretty sort of pleased with that, and people in the group making comments helped me through that whole process, so that was great. The next one, I guess, is online, and I can't sort of avoid eBay. With eBay, some people just don't like it, they don't really feel it's going in the right direction, but I think if you hunt around a bit, then you can find yourself a bargain. Going back to those two, things of making that list and obviously not just rushing in. eBay's the same principle, really. Handle it with care, but equally, I'm not personally, this is me, I'm not saying avoid it completely. I do still buy the odd thing from eBay. Don't rush into it, just sit and wait. You'll find what you need. There's no like Mona Lisa type game out there, really, to be honest. Most things can be obtainable, whether it's Radiant Silvergun or Snatcher, or one's even rarer. If you really want that game, it will probably pop up at some point, so don't feel you need to kind of jump in straight away, because you'll just probably regret it. That's what I think anyway. So I really enjoy going to certain game stores. Some of them have an online presence as well now, which is nice, so you get the two things, especially if they're a bit far away. Bought from Level Up Games in Canterbury. I haven't actually got down there, so I need to do that at some point. And there's other stores in Norwich and London, and obviously perhaps when I've visited overseas, going into a physical game shop and browsing, but also buying something to support the store, because they can't run off fumes. They need our support. A bit like the arcades, they're just not going to be there unless we kind of get behind them. There's lots of different game stores all over the world selling games from yesteryear, as well as some modern ones as well. But I particularly like the niche retro game shops. You can touch the product, you can see it, see the condition of it. Often, well, you'll be able to test it as well. So you just get the whole reassurance factor. And the people running it, the guys running it, are really invested into the hobby, so they know a lot about the games as well. It's nice to have a chat with them. It's kind of like an experience for me, sort of going to physical game stores and meeting the owners, because you'll find that a lot of them have been in the industry, if you like, for quite a long time, so it's a nice thing to experience that. The next thing is events. So I go to quite a few gaming events, some of these small events, gaming markets, or it doesn't have to be like E3 or a massive event, but going to events. E3 will have places where you can buy things, and Gamescom, which when it's on, I would go to every year. Then you've got Play Expos and Revival, and obviously there's the big shows as well, the US shows, which I'm hoping to get to as well at some point. Those places are really good because, again, you've got that idea that you can touch and feel the product. You'll find that especially if it's something where you're going to be buying multiple games and consoles, you'll be able to get a deal. So don't be afraid to ask, because those guys would like to do it. Maybe not all the time. You will be able to bundle stuff together and see what deal you get. And I say, if you don't ask, you don't get. So you won't be able to sort of get it 50% off, but I'm sure they'll help you out there. And often when you go back to some of these events, especially like gaming markets, because they're on regularly, you'll see the same people, and they will remember you, because they've got that in mind. They again, very much in it for the hobby. You'll find a lot of them are collectors themselves, so it's really nice to go to some of these events when safe and things are back on. And the other thing which I've kind of talked about quite a lot often, it's just come up again recently, is almost be proud of being somebody who's into retro games. I really think that's important, and it's very important right now, especially, to just love what you do. And for me, I like to be known as somebody who has a passion for the hobby. And then there's kind of almost a bit of a kickback, I suppose. It's not purposely done so. I don't necessarily say, oh, right, You know, I wear a t-shirt, so I'm a retro gamer, so I get this. But the reason it happens is because I think people see a genuine interest in what, you know, you have and what you do and what you talk about. And it's being seen as a, you know, as somebody who likes retro games at work, it could be on your socials. And what you'll find is, you know, friends, family, work colleagues, they will suggest, oh, you know, I've cleared my loft out or my basement, do you want this? And, you know, you could I ended up just recently with a nice clear blue N64, had Amigas, and I mean Amigas, 1200s, 500s, Atari STs, I had a nice ZX80, various things, games, I've had Mega CDs, 32Xs, over the years, just, you know, and I've, you know, reciprocate, I've given things back, but often people just want to get rid of things. It's kind of interesting. I think as time progresses, there's less so, because there's more knowledge around, obviously the value of things, but, you know, sometimes just family, just passing stuff over is quite nice. Fact is, you know, I've looked after that. It's almost like a legacy thing, and I think that's another thing for them to enjoy. I've also done the same. I've passed certain things on, partly sometimes because of space, but also I know that that person will look after something. I gave Nostalgia Nerd a 90s PC that had kind of been given to me from a family member, and he's really looked after it. I can see that, you know, he's gonna take care of it over the years. So there's a bit of a curation museum thing in that as well, that, you know, we're all as curators and keepers of all this stuff that, you know, might just have gone in the skip. You know, literally I've had things given to me from where it's been dumped and it's been cleaned up. Got a really nice ColecoVision that was like that. You know, this stuff would have just gone into the landfill, and it's nice to kind of keep that going. So just be seen as a collector. The other thing is obviously charity shops, or, you know, the thrift kind of, I think thrift stores in the US, that's more of a, you know, like a store that does things, you know, pick-me-ups, bric-a-brac. But charity shops, again, they get quite a lot of retro stuff. They're even getting a lot of VHS I see coming through just recently, but, you know, you get consoles and computers. Sometimes with the charity shop, you know, you might get to know the manager, and they will say, you know, oh, I'll keep stuff by for you. I've had a bit of that over the years. Sometimes you get a turnaround of managers and that goes away, but I definitely had that a few times the last few years where they've got to know me. And yeah, so that's quite a nice thing. But just going in there, obviously there's a altruistic side of it as well, because the charity's getting money back for whatever good cause it is. So it's kind of a win-win when it comes to charity shops, and they do often have, you know, some good stuff that comes in. It's often a seasonal thing, I find, as well. Last thing I'm going to sort of finish off is with car boot sales. In the US, you call them car boot sales. But, you know, where they're basically, yeah, if you go to a big field or a car park, wherever it might be, and you've got individual traders. Sometimes it's very dedicated people who sell just games and nothing else. The other cool, fun bit is where people have obviously just don't know what they're selling. They've got something random, and I've just picked all sorts up over the years. I think people are becoming more savvy to that. I always, you know, I'm always fair when I sort of make offers, especially, you know, if people don't know what it is. I've got some good deals over the years, and yeah, car boot sales, you know, is a really good place to pick up games. Again, you can see them, you can't necessarily test them. You won't get a receipt or a risk there. Make sure you open up the case, you know, look at the disc. Is it scratched? Has it got a crack in it? Definitely open up when you've got like a Mega Drive or a, you know, NES case, and make sure it's in there and it's not the wrong one. That's a classic, isn't it? Where you open up the disc case when you get home and it's another game. Sometimes you can get a bonus with that, funnily enough. I've had that occasionally. You just want to check you've got the right game, so that's an important tip. You know, just take your time. It's not like a rush. Yes, somebody might just get in there before you. I used to kind of be a bit like that, getting, you know, trying to get there early, but you'll find something anyway. And it's really important to enjoy that day or afternoon that you spend perhaps going to the kind of car boot sale. And that really encompasses the whole thing. You know, at the end of the day, the main thing to get out of this collecting thing, I think, is just to enjoy it and have some fun. And that's why I do it, and that's why I kind of started up Games You Love. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've just given you a quick heads up of a few ideas, what I do in terms of collecting. If I think of any others, I might just add them to the description, but they're the kind of main ones that I can think of. If you've got any ideas, I'm sure there's other things that you can do. I've kind of missed out a bit on forums and That's another area you can go into, lots of trading, especially on the arcade side. There's some really good forums that do that. I'll try and put some links in of things as well, in terms of little pointers, because I want to try and make this a useful, helpful video as well. So I'll try and put, in the description. I might add to it over time as well, so it becomes a bit of a useful tool. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one.